We're going to go ahead and call today's Zoning Board of Appeals meeting to order. Today is the December 8th meeting. Can we start with roll call, please?
Chairperson McCarr.
Here.
Vice Chair Roth.
Here.
Mr. Barron.
Here.
Mr. Beach.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Mr. Russo.
Here.
Ms. Stroker.
Here.
Ms. Tomich.
Here.
And Mr. Bismarck.
Here. Okay, fantastic. First on the agenda for today is the approval of said agenda. We are receiving the packet via the new distribution method, which is the link, right? So we all have the agenda from email. Hopefully everybody's had a chance to review it. Are there any modifications, updates, corrections to the agenda? Having heard no comments, might there be a motion to approve the agenda as published?
Motion to approve agenda as published.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of the motion to approve the agenda as published, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. All right, agenda passes. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. As you remember, we did not meet in November, so we got to go back 2 months to the October 13th meeting. Everybody's hopefully had a chance to review the meeting minutes, review their comments, review the actions. Are there any edits, corrections, or modifications to the minutes as published? Okay. Someone make a motion to approve the minutes then, please.
Motion to approve minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion seconded. All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes as published, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. All right, motion passes. Next on the agenda are public comments on items not on the published agenda. Is there anybody here from the public to speak on items that aren't on the agenda? Okay. If there are no comments from the public, we will move on to old business, which is simple because there is no old business. And jumping into new business, we have 3 new business items today. We have one case 1438. We also have the approval of the calendar, and then we also have a review of the ZBA bylaws. So, Ms. Steck, if we could start with a staff overview of zoning board case 1438. 6?
Good job.
8. Sorry.
That's all right. Good evening, all. Nice to see you. Happy December. Welcome to the last meeting of the ZBA for the year. So, as the chair said, we have one case before you this evening. Case number 1438 at 31555 Kennewick Court. We do have the applicant here to address any comments or questions that we may have. The applicant is seeking to install 6-foot privacy screens in the front yard. And they are seeking variances from 2 sections of the ordinance, section 46-173 sub 2 sub A sub 1 and 46-173 sub 2 sub B sub 1. The property in question is poorly outlined red-shaped property. It's just west of us here. This is Groves, right down here. So just west of us, just north of Groves. It is the dead end. The applicant owns both this property and this property, and it's important to point this out. This is the property in which she lives. Okay. The property itself, the one outlined in red, is 1.78 acre parcel. It's zoned RA single family. It is heavily wooded, all right? And you can see this little lovely flag here, and I've got it slightly better in this aerial. So the parcel itself, again, it runs along the Rouge. It's fairly irregular. This section right here is actually this, right? Oh gosh, my favorite thing you've ever taught me, my friend, is the control. So this northern property owns this is a 5-foot strip of land. That's what, right along this area. This area is the 35 feet is public right of way. That is Kenaway Court. It is part of our designated on our Act 51 map, which is something that the village has to certify annually with MDOT. So this area is public right of way. This is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Schwartz. Their driveway, the right-of-way essentially functions as their driveway, which you can kind of see in this aerial is going straight up here, right? And then it splits off once you get to the parcel in which they live, and then up over here into that northernmost parcel. As I said, Ms. Schwartz is seeking a variance to install 6-foot privacy panels along that 5-foot strip of land that's east of the right-of-way. Altogether, there are 13. I know that there's 10 now? Okay. 10 panels. There were, when Ms. Schwartz first came for this, it was at the result of a complaint that I'd received from another resident about the panels. At the time, there have been 13, and they are, well, so this is, let me back up a second. I'm trying to be thoughtful, and it's not working for me. All right, so this is the entrance. This is right here. This is still Kenaway Court. As you can see, it does function as her driveway for both northern properties. This is a more direct head-on view of what's there. You can see there's, she's got some signage out here. She's got a couple different decorative panels. The boulders, it's well landscaped. There is some additional, there's like a drainage elements from the village that are there. The drain cuts across the driveway at approximately this location. And there's some water service keys over here. So this is what you see when you go down Kenaway Court. In the summer, these panels had been installed, and at the time there were 13 of them. And Mrs. Schwartz and I, we've talked quite a bit. And we've gone out and I've spent some time and measured earlier this summer. They ranged from about 10 feet out from there's this little wire fence here. In some instances, those panels were approximately 10 feet away, more or less. In other instances, they were closer to like 3 feet away, right? And upon realizing that, she owns that 5-foot strip, and then there's the right-of-way, I did order to have the 8 that were in the right-of-way completely removed, right? The frames and the panels. The remaining 5 that are up, the panels were taken down. Those are the ones that were within that 5-foot stretch. And the panels were taken down, but the posts remain pending a decision by this board, okay? So this is just to kind of give you an idea of what's there, right? And she does have them spaced approximately every couple of feet. And they, at the time these particular pictures were taken, they were set just about a foot above grade so that the panels were not, sunk into the dirt, which gave them an elevated height closer to 7.5 feet, right? Well, the panels themselves are 6x3s, like the actual metal, without including the frame. So you can see this is from Mrs. Schwartz's property, the one in which they live. So this is the view from there. And this is the neighbor. Let me go back to the pictures of the play equipment and the deck and whatnot. That's all of this particular home, and which is one of the primary reasons that Mrs. Schwartz is requesting the variances, right? Is to help obscure the elements within their yard, but as well as the lights that are coming in from Kenaway Circle as people are, pulling in, navigating the turnaround, right? So just to kind of try and give you some perspective, right? So this is her view from the right of way, right? And then again, some night shots. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, please, Mrs. Schwartz. These are taken from the driveway, right? Closer to the property, right? The nighttime pictures, these are all taken closer, like in the driveway, right? Driveway road. So you can see, like she's got, it's well lit at night. We did try for pictures from the inside of the house, but there was just too much.
He's 6'4", so I was trying to get an idea, because that yard was sloped way down from it.
Okay.
So they're elevated higher than we are. So if you look at the car that's there, he's 6'4", to give you some kind of relationship to the height of where the headlights are.
If we may just
Yeah.
refrain from, we'll ask Ms. Schwartz to.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's completely fine. I just, the audience listening in won't be able to hear with our microphone. So we'll ask you to come up to the podium in just a moment, if that's okay.
Do you want me to go to the podium now?
Not quite yet. We're gonna let staff give their presentation, and then we'll ask you to come on up.
Okay.
So we've got some perspective on with these pictures to kind of show what's going on. So the 5 within this new sketch, so there are still 5 remaining panels, right? Or 5 remaining sets of posts, all within that 5-foot strip of land. The entirety of the request is for those 5 panels plus the 5 panels here, shown here, to install a total of 10 panels. These would extend approximately 50 feet in length, and they would, again, be at 6 feet, right? The ordinance does say that we've got a couple of different things. Fences in the front yard, and this is under the newly adopted fence ordinance standards. Fences in the front yard have to be at least, have an opacity of at least 35%, and they should not exceed 3 feet in height above grade and shall not extend back towards the front of the principal building more than 8 feet. So Mrs. Schwartz is seeking a variance from really all 3 of those elements, right? The placement within the front yard, the opacity, the height above grade, and extended back 8 feet. The second section that is applicable in this instance is also related to the placement, and that is section 46-173 sub 2 sub E sub 1, which says privacy screens that do not exceed 6 feet in height above grade are permitted as follows. In all single family residential zoning districts, they can be in rear or side yard to enclose an area of up to 3 feet, and they can, with a maximum total length that does not exceed 25% of the rear lot line length. So again, this is speaks more to that, the placement within the front yard, for which they're seeking the variance. The length, the 50-foot length, that's not at issue, as we can see in the aerial oops, sorry. And we've got over 350. We've got over 350, or approximately 350 feet of rear yard. So the 50-foot distance is not, that falls within line of this second subsection of this section. But, so, here we are, we've got, it's a little convoluted, I know. And I think I'm ready for you guys to answer some questions so I can maybe help parse out some of this differently.
Okay. Do any members of the board have questions for Ms. Steck?
Yes.
Yes. Is there any regulation that covers the obnoxious lights that are coming from the neighbor's yard that are upsetting Ms. Schwartz?
No, right? The lighting standards that we have are generally related to commercial developments, and they speak to, lighting that needs to be downward directed and shielded. But again, those are generally commercial standards.
All right, okay.
Do we have any views of the lights from the house, what they're seeing? Versus right
Yes and
next
no.
to the driveway?
Yes and no. I did ask for them, and Mrs. Schwartz did send me some pictures. Honestly, they're not helpful to anybody. They wouldn't be. There's so much glare from the inside lights and the outside lights. It just kind of looks like it's very distorted. So no, it's
Okay.
nothing to share from it for this evening, unfortunately.
Can you describe the issue of the right-of-way again, where it starts and ends, and,
Yes, so I'm gonna go here. All right, so Kenaway Court, right, we can see it extends, there is sort of like a natural kind of turnaround area here, right? And it extends all the way up. So really like the driveway, Mrs. Schwartz's driveway is right here, and they've got a short little driveway right here, right? And their house is kind of right at the 5 and 3, right? This northern property has another driveway that goes up there, and this property is set a little bit more at an angle.
and where is the screen on that red line?
Where's the screen?
Where are the panels?
They are in that red line.
Okay,
Or some, well, sorry, the 5 that were allowed, 5 of them were in that red line. The other 8 that were taken down were probably closer to this side of the red line. Right? It's marginally easier to tell in here, right? So those 8 panels were like right here, right?
okay.
And the other, like I said, the other 5 are within this 5-foot strip of land.
But they're all in the right of way.
These 8 that I had removed, those were in the right of way. Right? And so there was a total of 13. 8 were in the right of way here. 5 were in this narrow strip of land that Mrs. Schwartz owns.
Susie?
Yep.
Using this markup here, can you kind of show me where her home will be using this overview?
All right, keep this in your mind, all right? Because this area right here is this, right? So the home, Mrs. Schwartz's home that she lives in is right here.
But-
The other home that belongs to this parcel, if you will, is right here. That home is vacant, right? So she owns both homes, but this is the home in which they reside.
To clarify, sorry, the there's two homes, one's occupied, one's not.
Correct.
The home that's requesting the variance, I understood, was the one that is unoccupied.
Correct.
So just to be clear, even though they occupy the southern home, this variance applies to the property to the north, the bigger shape with the dog leg south,
Correct.
little strip of land. Okay, thank you.
If that whole section is right-of-way, why is where some of the panels permitted and others aren't?
Well, this whole section, so this whole orange box, right, that goes from this whole 35 width, right, from this yellow line to this, that's the right of way.
Mhm.
For whatever reason, this 5-foot strip was never included in the right of way. This is owned by Mrs. Schwartz and her husband, this 5-foot strip,
All the way up?
all the way up.
Okay.
So that's what gives this dog leg thing right here, right? So you can see this whole strip goes all the way up and is part of this parcel,
Okay.
right?
Any additional questions for Ms. Stepp?
Where was the topmost panel on that map?
The topmost panel was,
The
northernmost panel?
Please.
I would say that's approximately right here, where that hand is.
But that's still in the right-of-way?
Well, I mean, yes, the northernmost 8 panels were all in the right of way.
As I understand it, the code stipulates that these are permanent structures, is that correct? And that's what prevents them from being acceptable. But if they were temporary structures, then it wouldn't be a problem, is that correct?
Well, this is permanent privacy fencing, so, I mean, regardless, she'd have to have a permit for something in the front yard.
Even
Nothing's
if they were
allowed.
on wheels?
Accessories are not permitted in the front yard.
Sorry?
Accessories are not permitted in the front yard.
Aren't accessories permanent versus temporary?
I suppose, sure. I mean, that could be one way to look at it. The standards for temporary structures, we do have language about like temporary, like tents, right? Like a pop-up tent. There is, and those have to be on, like, they'd have to be on like a permanent, like a foundation, not foundation, but like a paved surface to be up for any length of time. But I would have to go look and see specifically what we would have for, I can't think of anything right off the top of my head for temporary fencing of any sort or privacy screening of any sort.
Or mobile artwork?
We have there's no standards for mobile artwork.
Our definition, building is any structure either temporary or permanent,
Thank you.
just to clarify. Had a couple questions, if that's okay. Do we know when these panels were installed? And I'll certainly ask that for the petitioner as well.
They were originally installed at probably, I want to say, probably June, late June, maybe early July.
Okay. Do we know the history on the right-of-way plot? Was that originally plotted as a right-of-way, or was there a land transfer at any point? Did it used to be Ms. Schwartz or a previous homeowners? Is there any?
No, I went in the Wayback Machine and pulled out the old maps, like the way old maps. This is platted like this, so and that's even a conversation I've had with Mrs. Schwartz as well. This is platted like this. To me, and I'm by no means an expert, but this to me looks like it could have been a map error at some point, back when this was originally platted. But from what I can tell, I mean, this is the way it's been. We do not have, DPW has maintained the water systems. You know, we do have, like I said, there's some drains over here, there's some water keys over here. We've maintained that. We haven't really historically maintained the road itself. You know, and as we saw with that first picture, you know, Mrs. Schwartz and her husband have made some improvements, right? They've got like the sign, those little gates. I know from conversations with Mrs. Schwartz that they paved that driveway. I think it was within the last couple of years. So you know they've been maintaining it, but it has remained under the control of the village.
Could you go to the screen after this that has the colored view of the plotted land? It's your next, no, maybe yeah, that one.
Yep.
So maybe it's a cross between the two, just so at least I understand. The front yard for the house that's on 31555, which is where we're talking about this variance potential. The house sits askew.
Correct.
So it's not like a traditional grid where I understand where the front is. Could
Right.
you, without being a AutoCAD, or can you generally show like, where is the front yard of this property?
So it's a rectangle, right? So that let's do our imagining our rectangle. It sits, you know, almost
Maybe
lined up like this,
maybe
right?
the next view is the better
Yeah,
one, because you
maybe
can actually see the roof line.
All right, here we go. So front yard is draw an imaginary line, right, across the front building line. So
Okay.
there's everything in front of that is the front yard. The rear yard would then be everything, like draw that same kind of imaginary line along the back of the property line. And that would be your rear yard. So there's your rear yard. The side yards are the space between. So a wonky little not triangle, right? And then another little wonky little shape over here.
So if the screen or fence complied with open air and the right height, it could be installed in the wonky projection you just described, in the
Yes.
side and in the rear, but not the front, which is the southeast view. Okay.
Correct.
And my last question is more, I don't know if it's technical on our own process, but there's two ordinances that we're referencing. One has to do with fences in the front yard, and when you have a fence, it's open air percentage. But we also talk about privacy screens, and the request from the petitioner, at least as drafted, they're asking for a variance to install 6-foot privacy screens. Does a privacy screen have to comply with a fence requirement, thus the 35% open air? And the reason I ask is neither one seem to allow a fence or a privacy screen in the front yard, but I'm evaluating this like, do we even need to discuss or consider the front yard fence, because the petitioner's not here asking for a fence. I believe they're asking for a privacy screen. I'm sorry, I didn't think of this earlier in the day.
Tom, do you have any thoughts on that one? That sounds like an excellent question for you.
Well, when I read it, I assumed that the zoning administrator was including that sort of essentially as another provision that you could grant variations from. So height, opacity, things like that.
Okay.
So it's, I guess I looked at it as another vehicle. Another thing that limits the fence in the front yard, or another section that you could point to, and if you chose to, grant the variance. Could it have been written just for the privacy screen?
Okay.
My comment, the way I understand from my own personal property was that privacy screens do not have an opacity requirement, first of all. And in my case, when I was going to permit it, I was limited to the percentage of the rear lot line. So that it could be 6 feet. There was no opacity restriction. It was just that lineage as 25% of the rear lot line. Of course, that's not in the front yard,
Right.
but it's in that side, and it's a side yard. Maybe it is considered front yard.
Here in the corner, you've got a funky.
I do too, but nothing like this.
No, it's
This is,
this is pretty funky.
Okay. I would suggest procedurally, since we've been asked to review both variances, and I'm not suggesting action by any means, but you could technically reject the front yard fence ordinance, but accept the privacy screen in the front yard as one potential option.
I guess from my perspective, once the board determines that it does or does not want to grant the relief,
Yes.
then you could just include both.
Okay.
And I think that really the first question I asked are you interested in giving the relief, at least for the 5 panels that are outside the right of way? Just by way of explanation, you don't have the authority to give anything in the right of way. That's
Sure.
outside the zoning ordinance, which is, so
And I appreciate that point, 'cause I think just to clarify, we're not here to consider putting these panels in the right of way. The variance is requested to put it in that 5-foot sliver of land, so we're not suggesting, we don't have the authority to do that on behalf of the village. Okay. Any other further comments or questions for staff? Okay. If the petitioner would come up to the podium, introduce yourself, please, name and address, and if you could please give any more detail or comments on your request.
First of all, I want to thank the board for allowing us to come before you for a request. I'm sorry, my husband is not well, so he's not here tonight to help. I also want to apologize. I am hard of hearing, so if I'm not hearing you and I ask again, please forgive me, okay? To give you a little background, I know you've received the paperwork. We bought the second home a number of years ago because our neighbor was a hoarder. We lived next to that for 15 years and were able to do nothing about it. And finally, when he passed away, we did buy the property from the family because we didn't want to lose control of that ever again because it was like the TV show. So that's why we have that second home in the hopes of someday our daughter is interested. She's a resident of the village now, but she'd like to someday move into that property, and that's why it's vacant. Our house is adjacent to that. I brought along with me, which you do not have in your packet. My husband and I have lived in the village for 50 plus years in the same home. We have maintained the driveway for all of that time. It was paved when we bought the house. We've had it repaved. We plow it. We take care of all the maintenance of the drains, of any trees that fall, trimming, pruning, everything. It's always been something that we have done ourselves. It's never been done by the village, just to clarify that. Can you hear me okay? Okay. And so when we bought the house, Lonsdale was pretty much not visible to our property at all. There was a massive green belt there. There was a woodland between some of the houses that got cut down. Most of this took place around 2020, maybe 2019. And then a prior neighbor that bought the house that affects us the most cut down everything in the backyard. All of the greenery was cut down. They were going to re-landscape, but never did. So at that juncture, my husband and I started buying evergreen trees, which I have brought the receipts from, going all the way back. I don't have all of them, but I have a lot of older ones. We've spent thousands of dollars trying to get evergreens to grow in that area as a natural green belt, along with other vegetation, naturalized bushes, that would be native to that area and fare well. We have planted no less than 3 times and had to tear them out because they failed. We hired a professional landscape company, arborists, everything. It's just so shady, and the ground there is extremely dense and compacted from the tree roots. And I haul that hose out there all those feet because we don't have a sprinkler system, and keep them watered, and it just they would die. Sometimes the deer, we have a fairly good deer population. Some of the varieties, because we've tried different varieties, they would be eaten by the deer. We tried fencing, we tried everything, it did not take. So after 3 attempts, and between the cost of the trees, which we were buying 6 and 7 footers, they averaged between $150 to $170 each. And we were buying 10 and 12 of them or more in that area to create that green belt. Plus deliveries, plus mulch, and the cost of the labor to dig the holes, and then to have them fail, and then I would have to pay for all the labor to take them back up again. And then we'd replant again another variety. So after doing this back to all the way to 2020, we just don't know what else to do to plant that area. The trees are heavily shaded. I don't own all of them, so there's not a lot of choice in what we can do to create more of a green belt. I would love to do, we've tried. We don't have a lot of spare money, this is thousands. And like I said, we got the letter from that you received from the landscape company to verify that they have done this work. So we just didn't know what else to do. We're very impacted by Ronsdale in our home. We have headlights that come in with the leaves down now. It's very prevalent. The pictures I tried to take, I'm not a good photographer, there was glare. But those headlights, they're LED lights. They come right into my living room. The lights from the rest of some of Ronsdale, now that the leaves are down for 6 months, we did that in our kitchen and in our living room, which face the front of our house. And those are our 2 main places of where we gather. You know, people gather in their kitchen and in their family rooms, and that's where we're at. So that has been impactful to us. And then, again, it's no one's fault. When this was all laid out many years ago, our front yard is the backyard of these other homes. People use their backyards. That's what they do. They have barbecues and children's play structures and toys and string lights and all the normal things that you would expect for the use of a backyard. But it is in our front yard. It's where we gather. Now, our backyard is very close to the edge of the ravine. We don't have much use of what's behind our house because there's a big drop and the topography is very downhill. So we don't have much there is no flat ground by us. So we are more in our front yard than the average might be because that's where all of the property that's level is, and I'm a gardener and I'm out there all the time. So my husband and I were sitting out on the front porch and we're in our front yard a lot. So we're seeing all of the things that are normal backyard things, and we're not faulting any of that. It's no one's fault, it's just our privacy is very impacted by the Ronsdale having all of that vegetation taken away. And we just can't come up with another solution. the backyards of Bronzedale would be allowed to put up 6-foot privacy fences, which if you go through the village and you look at most families, it's backyard to backyard, front yard, space front yards. So, you know, we beautify our front yards for people that are coming in, for curb appeal, all those things. But when you come into ours, we're seeing the back end of Bronzedale. So we came up with the idea, we didn't want to ask for a solid fence, so we wanted the screens, which would give a garden effect, we felt, and try and put greenery. The greenery I planted in the summer, this summer, in that area has already died. I have only 4 small bushes left. Everything else I planted, we already had to rip out, it already died. It's just so shaded there. So we are hoping that the board would understand our dilemma here and why it impacts us to have this glaring at us. Again, we don't fault the neighbors or anything, it's just the way it's set up, unfortunately. And most people would like their privacy, and we do too. And the impact of the lighting and everything is very, very imposing on us. So I hope that you can understand we're not trying to do anything bad for our neighbors, or it doesn't affect the village services in any way. It doesn't affect much of anybody that we know of, and if they're in a negative way, we're trying to make this nice looking as possible and still have our privacy and make the property look nice from the entrance way and everything. So if you have any questions of me, I'm happy to answer them. Okay, so here I am.
Thank you. Board members, any questions for the petitioner?
No.
No?
I was not understanding, I couldn't hear when you were asking, if you don't mind, if it's okay, when you were asking about the thing with the fence ordinance as opposed to privacy screens. I didn't understand, because we were confused about how the ordinance reads, also about fencing and privacy screens and how they're different. We were a little bit not sure what they were saying.
Sure. I guess since I asked the question, I'll kind of repeat what I was trying to determine is your variance request is for is to install a privacy fence in your front yard. And there are 2 ordinances that are being referenced in the packet. The first being fences allowed in the front yard. And if you did have a fence in the front yard, there's a certain open air requirement, right? So you can't have a solid fence in your front yard. It has to be at least 35% open to air. Whereas in your case, what you're asking for, as I interpret it, is a privacy screen made up of panels. It's not a fence. It doesn't fence in an animal. It doesn't fence in people from falling into your pool. You requested a privacy screen. In my head, I'm seeing a privacy screen.
What we tried to do also, yeah, I hope I'm not talking out of turn, is to space them out so they were airy feeling, and it doesn't stop everything. It just helps to lower the impact of it all. It's not stopping it completely like any kind of solid thing, but it helps mitigate some of that impact that we feel from having that subdivision in our front yard. So that's why we spaced them a little bit. It doesn't do everything we like, but we wanted it to have a softer look and be attractive looking as well.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, if I could?
Yes.
To add to the answer I gave earlier, looking at the definition of fence, it would still meet the definition of a fence, even though it also has a privacy screen. So I think that sort of explains why you have to do relief from both,
Okay.
if that's what you decide.
Thank you.
Again, once you do decide,
Okay. Thank you.
you need both variances from our perspective.
tiny build
Yes.
for what, so I understand. The fence and the.
I can,
Yeah, no,
can I, well, I can take a shot at it too.
The sections that are listed within the notice and for this request, right? It's the two based on the definition.
I thought we had said there was two definitions.
There's one definition that
I don't
falls,
wanna have
that
sex.
applies to both of those sections.
So
Yeah.
now there would only be 10 vacant, so.
Yeah.
It's in front of it.
That's all right, don't worry about it.
I guess my only question, Ms. Schwartz, one of the considerations when we're looking to approve a request for a variance is, does applying strict letter of the zoning ordinance or the zoning restriction unreasonably prevent the landowner from using their property for a permitted purpose? Could you expand why, if we were, as we evaluate, how is the ordinance as it's written, which does not allow panels in your front yard, how is that unreasonably preventing you from using your home for its intended purpose?
Susie, I didn't understand that. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
I apologize.
No. So if, how is
Does she
not
have a
allowing,
response to these questions?
how is not allowing the installation of those panels, how is that preventing you from using your house or your home?
Just so he knows.
Does it? And if so,
I
how?
don't think anyone here would want to have headlights in their living room and for not a moment or two that they're on for, like when people start their cars for several minutes, they're heating up the vehicles. And there are there's multiple vehicles and you're sitting in the living room and all of a sudden these bright lights are shining on. It's not a wonderful thing to have going on. The string lights that are common in backyards. I don't think you allow them in anybody's front yard, but they are in my front yard. So they do impact us because they're very visual. So it does affect how we live in our home. We lose it's impactful. I can't imagine anyone here would want those kinds of lights in their living room and in their kitchen when they're living especially in the evening and in the winter time. This is a long period of time. So it's more mitigated in the summer because the leaves come out, but it's very intrusive to us to have those lights.
And to that point, have you considered other means such as drapery or blinds in the window of the home to prevent the light from entering? Or have you looked at planting greenery, shrubbery, maybe closer to your property where it's in a more suitable plantable
We
area?
have tried planting more greenery closer. Again, our property is heavily wooded. I have difficulty because I have giant oak trees. I have maples, very big trees, okay? So finding things with our arborist and landscaper that will grow in the shade and not be eaten by deer. I have fencing around now,
just
around
jump
different
right
things I'm trying to grow. So it's not like we don't do that as well. But the property itself is so shaded, it limits us on the variety of what you can plant. There's not a lot of things that survive in heavy shade. So we have limitations on what vegetation. The best vegetation is called a hue. And we just had to rip out that we planted over the years, in the last 3 years, at least 30 of them because the deer have eaten them down to nubs. I bought spray and spray them. I put meshing on them, but you can't stop a 200-pound animal that wants to eat it,
Sure.
you know?
And then as far as your home itself, do you have drapery or blinds or some other means inside your home to stop the light intrusion?
We have blinds in certain parts of our home, but not in every room, because one of the reasons we lived there was so that we could enjoy the outdoors. like I said, we've lived there for 50 years. Until this green belt, because they get sun in that area, until that was cut down, we never had a problem. It never happened before. It wasn't until this was cut down in the last, since around 2020, that we started getting the impact of all of that. Before that, it was not an issue ever all those years. But we bought the home because we want to see the woods and the trees. Otherwise, you know, I wouldn't be living there. We enjoy that country feel.
Okay.
But I have tried, my husband and I have tried everything. We've spent so much time and money and energy with greenery. And if you came to my yard now and you saw everything that's already been eaten, I mean, sometimes there are 10 deer in the yard, and you know, there's only so much we can do. So we try to plant what we think they won't like. But when they're hungry, they will eat anything. So they don't eat privacy screens, and
Sure.
they don't do that. So like I said, we planted, like I said, if you want to see my invoices from Bordine's, I brought them with me. It's not like we're not trying. We really have done everything we can think of.
Thank you. I believe you. I don't know if the board wants to see the receipts, but I think
I
you're
believe you.
being earnest in your comments that you've made a lot of effort, so thank you. Are there any more questions for the applicant?
Just one last question. Have you worked with the neighbors of that neighborhood to talk about any way of working with them to find a screen that maybe they, because there is a letter saying that they were not a fan of the screen that you put in. Have you tried to work with them on any of that at this, to this point?
I only met the one neighbor a couple of times, just briefly, when there were some other issues with weeds and things, but I don't see them hardly at all. I just physically haven't seen them much, so not really. I did try to have some contact, but it really didn't, nothing came of that. So I don't know, I didn't go and knock on their door, to be honest with you. I did not do that.
Okay.
I didn't know that it would be an issue for anyone. It wasn't meant to be anything malicious or unthoughtful or anything like that. That was not our intent at all. If I wasn't thinking about it, I wouldn't have spaced them apart and tried to, we wanted to try and put some ivy on it because we were hoping the deer wouldn't eat ivy. Let it grow on the screens and kind of get more greenery, because we like it green too. But we just don't know what the deer are gonna do. So I don't know what I didn't mean to do anything that would harm anyone.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, if you don't mind taking a seat, we'll carry on with the rest of the meeting. At this point, we're going to open the agenda item for public hearing. First, we will look at presentation of written comments. Ms. Steck, we had one letter, email.
Yes, we had one letter with emailed with a series of pictures, and those were also all included in your packet. That was from this neighbor right here. They are not able to be here. I did speak with them this Friday, and they stand by their comments, right? I did speak to two other individuals. They did not submit written comments, but I did speak to two other individuals that received the direct notice. Neither one of those individuals were in favor of the variance. One was concerned with the use of the right of way over such a long duration of time, right? So neither were in support.
Thank you.
Yep.
And next, any members from the public here to speak on this item? If so, if you don't mind, in a orderly manner between the four of you, take the podium. And just, if you don't mind stating your name and address for the record, please.
My name is John Wayman, and I'm a resident of 20348 Runsdale, which is in the upper right. And I think the reason we all have chosen to live on that side of Runsdale is we love the nature. We think of our house kind of like a mullet. It's the city in the front yard, and it's the country in the backyard, and it's delightful. And I know I personally would prefer not to see things obstructing the view of the nature. I mean, in my mind, hearing everything that's been brought up tonight, there is no valid reason to permit this under the current code, other than your desire to approve the variance. I mean, there is nothing that's been presented that would meet the code if they continue with this 6-foot-high fence. And from what I've heard as well, are the panels themselves 6 feet high, or is the installed height 6 feet above grade? Are the panels 72 inches in height?
The panels are
Right.
6 feet.
They're 6 feet.
But they start 1 feet above grade, so their
So
top
now-
elevation is 7 feet.
Now you've got a 7-foot fence, not a 6-foot fence. You know, as far as if this is approved, there's no reason anybody else in the village cannot come by here, especially if you have a corner lot. And as people turn the corner, headlights go in houses. It's just part of subdivision living. So I personally would prefer not to see it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, good evening. My name is Marilyn Lehman, and I live with John at 20348 Ronsdale. I also oppose the request for the 6-foot privacy screens going in the front yard. Our zoning rules don't allow structures that tall in front yards because they change the look and openness of the neighborhood. Granting this variance would set a precedent for others to do the same, which could gradually alter the character of our neighborhood. There are reasonable alternatives such as blinds, curtains, or shades that block headlights without needing a zoning change. So I am opposing the request. Thank you.
Thank you. When we're done with public comment, we'll call you back up and you can give further comment. Any other members from the public here to comment? Okay, having heard no other members from the public comment, we will close the public hearing at this point. If the applicant would like to come back up to the podium and give any concluding statements. Yes, yep, absolutely, please.
With regards to the neighbors, I don't believe that their house is anywhere near where my screens are, or that they even see them. To my knowledge, you don't.
No, it's a matter of principle, precedent.
But if I might say, first of all, where we're requesting them are not in a right of way, they are on my property. In terms of principle, these people are not being impacted by anything that's happening to our property, nor have they maintained the property or spent all the money on my property. They're not even seeing it. So I'm surprised that they would come and say I'm doing something terrible. I'm not trying to set a precedent or impact anything negatively. I don't mean to say this in disrespect, but I didn't know that it was our job to provide our neighbor with a view of our property for their beautification. If they wanna have greenery, they can do whatever they like. I would love for them, so that I don't have to put up a privacy screen, to plant a green belt for themselves that was there before. Up until 2020, that's exactly what was there before. The vegetation they're talking about with the greenery, there was a woodland, a natural woodland, quite large, between the two homes on Ronsdale, and it was cut down. Now it's just weeds, mostly thistle that grow there. So what happened to that? Nobody did anything about proposing that somebody cut all that down. So some of those things that were there before just don't exist anymore. And if I don't know what I would be doing wrong to ask for our privacy that has been changed, and if our neighbors want to put up a privacy fence or add greenery or whatever they could do to help with that, that would be wonderful. But I can't expect them to spend money, nor can they expect or ask me to spend money on blinds. I think that's not reasonable for them to tell me I have to do that. We've tried very, very, very hard to solve this problem. And it is a big problem for us directly. It doesn't impact them, it's impacting us. And it isn't just the lights, it's driving in and when I'm in my front yard and someone's they're having parties or groups and things. These are things that are generally in the backyard, not in your front yard. So again, I'm not trying to be unneighborly or unfriendly, but my husband and I value our privacy, and we like having our opportunity to utilize our land, which we pay for and maintain how we would like, as we would expect anyone here would want that ability to utilize their property. Even though it's technically a front yard, it isn't your typical front yard. If anyone has come out and looked at it, it isn't typical. It's not. The ordinances are primarily designed, in my view, for the major group, backyard to backyard, front yard to front yard. This is a very unusual shape of property. I don't know how many there might be in the village, but I would say very small handful, if any. Our property is very unusually situated. So I would ask the board to please understand this so that we have an opportunity to resume our privacy. If our neighbors want to put up a green belt, we're 100% for that. If I could cut their trees and let more light in, I would. But I'm not allowed to cut their trees, okay? Only what's hanging over our property. So, I just can't imagine that anybody would want to punish us in the sense that we're not being neighborly or that we're objecting or trying to, disrupt the country or anything for somebody. It is our land. So we would like to be able to utilize it and still have it look good for everybody. We've tried. I just don't know what more to say. I just don't think that this is a fair assumption, especially since they're not even impacted. They're not sitting in my property or my yard. We are. So I don't mean to be harsh or anything, but I just wanted to reiterate that for everyone, okay?
Thank you. Okay, at that point, any concluding comments of staff?
I have nothing further to add at this point.
Okay. At this point, we'll bring it to the board for questions and comments amongst ourselves. Discussion, thoughts?
I mean, the one thing I've been looking at while everyone has been speaking is I've been looking at kind of intently on the Google vision of Ronsdale, and how the, and at least from what I can see, there's only, one house, which is impact to either 3155 or 31553. Now that's me sitting here today, so take that with a grain of salt, but you can look and see where the garages are placed as far as light coming through. I know 3155 is the property that's applying for the variance. The garage at 20370 appears to be straight on, which means if someone's coming down the road, they're turning in and they're turning straight into a garage at 20370. The garage at 20392 somebody appears to be pulling in and they turn left to go into a garage. There also appears to be a parking deck. And I guess I just don't see how having what I see as two houses where lights might be constantly coming through an area enough to grant such a variance in this instance. I think we all have lights that come in. I have a neighbor that backs his car in at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning every night because that's his work hours. And I would love to have a giant privacy fence that goes all along. I'm not allowed to, and I have to understand that. I sympathize with you, ma'am. I truly do. I sympathize with you, and I understand you bought there at a time where there was less development. But I just think things have changed, and I don't know. I would not be voting in favor of such a variance. So, but I do sympathize with your position, and I empathize with it because I'm in a similar position with at least the light intrusion into my house.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that this is a unique property. Okay? It stands on its own. And Mr. Beach, I hear you loud and clear too. I don't see the circumstances for granting a variance. Sympathy, empathy towards you, of course, but I have, over my 20 years, I've been able to have this new neighbors. We work together to create a privacy screen together. It only took 15 years to get there. But, they like to back up. We just worked it out together as neighbors. And I have unique property, but I wouldn't be in favor. I don't see the circumstances to favor this.
Thank you. Okay. Like both colleagues said, I very much empathize with your position. When you bought the house, you had greenery. The greenery was removed out of your control. I do think it is a very unique property. What I'm struggling with is the impact to the neighbors. They've clearly articulated that it would impact them in a not positive way. And I struggle with the consideration that it's unreasonably preventing you from using your home as the ordinance is written. And I'm struggling with, I certainly hate tabling ideas, but I think the comment raised by Mr. Miller and maybe even our discussions is there a scenario in which you could work with your neighbors to the east and come up with a solution?
I'm so sorry.
No.
We have to get closer.
No, please welcome, yeah,
I'm so sorry.
I'm very monotone and I mumble, so I will try to articulate really well.
It's really loud though.
Action one is if we were to not approve the variance, no solution similar to a fence or a privacy screen would be allowed. Whereas if we were to table, and I'm just brainstorming in my head, is could you communicate, meet with your neighbors, come up with a solution that might still need a variance, still be considered a fence by our ordinance standards, but might be more visually appealing to them, where you could both come up with a solution that has support from your neighbors that does not negatively impact them. It would delay a decision by the board. It would require some diligence on your end to meet with your neighbors and come up with a plan.
I don't think that they will speak with me because I just don't think that they were upset with me before about a big weed problem.
Okay?
Wasn't anybody upset that I complained about the weeds? They were thistle and they were everywhere. And I just can't dick them all at myself anymore. I'm a senior citizen. I just can't do it. And when I tried to talk to her, she walked away from me. I didn't want to say that, but that's what
Okay.
happened. So, because I don't want to cast any bad dispersion on anyone.
Okay.
I think that's a little bit of what precipitated some of this, because of this whole where the woodland was came up, and it just was out of control. It was 4 and 5 feet high and everywhere. I talked to one of the grandmothers and said, this is the problem, and nothing was done. So I did call the village and said, this is, it's very invasive. And after that, everything kind of shut down. So I don't know that there would be much reception if they would cut their trees, anything.
Okay.
But that is not happening. So, what do you do then? What do you do if a neighbor doesn't want to help you or cooperate? The only other thing I could do is literally cut all the trees that overlap from theirs onto to try and remove that shade, and then cut down the few that I have there and just cut them out of there, which is very costly and it would not be very good looking either. So it's not like those are simple things to do, but I just, if you can't approach somebody, what do you do?
Okay. Thank you for your honesty. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I appreciate your honesty in sharing that. So. Sure.
Again, it's not that people don't, that having big play structures and barbecues and look, those things that are hidden in most backyards, that are, you don't see their neighbors' decks and barbecues and gatherings and their children's play structures out front and center.
Certainly.
It's typically in the back, and that's always the way it is, but that's not what's happening here.
Understood.
It isn't just the lighting, it's the whole thing of that whole backyard area. The other neighbor has a big pool, and the string lights, and they all have string lights, and these are not things that you see in your front yards, but I do. So it's much more than that, it's all of that combined.
Thank you.
We're just trying to mitigate it as best we can.
Understood.
And have tried, and, we, like I said, we planted over and over. Trying a greenbelt, I don't know what else can you do but a greenbelt. If the trees that I bought had survived, they get 40 feet tall and 11 to 15 feet wide. They would be bigger and cutting more than any privacy screens that I'm, tossing here and there. They would be a complete block of everything, but they didn't work.
Thank you.
So,
Right. I appreciate that. We were just trying to suggest maybe another solution would work, but I appreciate your answer. So we'll,
I understand.
do. Okay. We'll go back to the board if that's okay. Other members have any comments, or if we're done with comments, request for a motion to approve or deny the requested variances?
I so move. I so move.
I'd be looking for a motion from a board member to approve.
Your turn.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move to deny the variance request by Mr. and Mrs. Howard Schwartz, property owners of 31555 Kennaway Court. This is parcel number 2403451001, ZBA case 1438, from Chapter 46 zoning, Section 46, 173, Sub 2, Sub A, Sub 1, and Section 46-173, Sub 2, Sub B, Sub 1. This determination is based on the finding that the petitioner has not demonstrated a practical difficulty exists based on the following criteria. 1, applying the strict letter of zoning restrictions will not unreasonably prevent the landowner from using their property for a permitted purpose, and/or conformity with the zoning regulations is unnecessarily burdensome because there are other options available to the homeowner. 2, substantial justice would not be achieved for the applicant and neighboring property owners by granting the variance, and approval of the variance would negatively impact adjacent property owners or land within the district because such neighbors have stated both here personally and by letter their disapproval of this. 3, the requested variance is not the least relief required. 4, the situation whereby it is unique to the subject's property is not, it is not such that a variance would be granted and not related to the general conditions of the area. 5, the circumstances requiring the variance are self-created.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the request. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion seconded. Could do a,
Can I do a couple of things?
yes, please.
First, want to clarify that the board is talking about the 5 or 6 panels that are not in the right of way.
For everything.
So, I guess clarification then, for the record, that in addition to the reasons stated for denial, any of the panels that are proposed in the right of way can't be approved by the board. So the reasons relate to the panels on her property. Just a clarification, does the maker of the motion agree to that?
Yes, I do.
I guess I'd like to, since you have a lawyer here, just kind of try to make the record a little better, so please don't get upset. So, on item number 1, you indicated that this would not unreasonably prevent use of the property by the applicant. Because there are other options available, I just wanted to explore that a little bit in case it becomes an issue. Is that other screening that could be placed on the applicant's own property and other treatments she could do to her home to avoid lights.
As two examples.
So if I can have those two just added to the part of the motion.
But not limited to, yeah.
But not limited to, sir. And then, I guess, under item number 2, I think it would be appropriate to acknowledge that this would be the only fence and screening in the area. So in terms of doing substantial justice to the neighbors, this would be unusual for the area.
Okay.
Okay, so if I could have those added, Mr. Chair, I appreciate it.
Yes, as a motion.
I would agree, yes, I concur. As long as I don't have to start over.
Second the motion as amended.
Thank you. I was just gonna ask if we needed to be seconded, so, okay, thank you all. If we can take a vote on the motion, please?
Okay, Mr. Bislav,
No.
Ms. Tomich,
Yes.
Ms. Stroker,
Yes.
Mr. Russo,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Beach,
Yes.
Mr. Barron,
Yes.
Vice Chair Rott,
Yes.
and Chair McCarr.
Yes. Okay, so the motion to deny the requests has been approved.
So what happens now? I don't understand what would be next, so that I understand, I've not done this before.
Sure. I would recommend that you meet with the village, whether Susie or another member of the staff, to look at what other options you have that are compliant with the ordinance as written. I know you've expressed some pun, maybe not intended, fences that need to be mended with a neighbor. Maybe you can find a solution that is agreeable to both parties.
Can the neighbor put up a 6-foot fence then for themselves?
They could put a fence up that's compliant with the ordinance in the rear yard, yes.
6 foot. They can put up
I believe 6 foot is, the fence ordinance was just rebooted recently, so I don't have it off the top of my head, so I would say they can put up a fence in compliance with the ordinance, yes.
I believe it is a 6-foot fence.
35% opacity.
Are there any other alternatives that I have other than that?
Unfortunately, our work, we're all volunteers for the zoning board, we're here just to kind of evaluate as presented. I would encourage you to meet with the village staff
Did
and,
anyone get a chance to look at this, actually see the property? To look at it?
again, I would encourage you to meet with the village and talk to your neighbors and maybe find a solution that,
I just don't know of any more solutions. I've tried them all.
I know,
I really have.
and that sentiment is empathized by us. I feel for you. I can hear the frustration.
All right, well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I will follow up with you in the morning. I will follow up with you in the morning. Okay?
Okay, next on the agenda under new business is the 2026 Zoning Board of Appeals calendar of meetings. Hopefully you've all coordinated with your personal schedules and you're making availability. But this is the calendar laid out. I won't read it verbatim, but we do everything from January of 2026 to January of 2027 listed. Now, reminder, meetings will continue to start at 7 p.m. That was a change from last year. We made, I believe, mid-2025.
Possibly. I mean,
Yeah.
you can, everybody else is staying with 7. If you want to change it, feel free to move it earlier. No, yeah, I mean, I did discover, we really only have to have 2
6:30
meetings a
would be-
year. That would be 2 really big meetings, but no, 7 o'clock is what I'm proposing. If you guys still want to meet at 7, or if you want to move it back to 7:30, that would be fine.
Any discussion on start time, or is the board okay with the 7 p.m. start?
If 6:30 is on the agenda,
I mean, I'm
if
here
it's
until
possible.
4:30 every day, so.
yeah, if 6:30 was possible, it'd be even better, but that's just personal.
Other
I'm perfectly
members?
happy with 7.
I'm fine with 7.
I like 6:30.
I like it too for whatever it's worth, but 7 sounds like it's gonna be the
Okay.
winner.
We can talk about 6:30 in another year.
I'm a man of the people, but 7 does work better for my balance between getting home from work and saying hello to family and getting here, but that's just my own personal thoughts. So with that, I believe we need a motion to adopt
Yes, please.
the 2026 ZBA calendar of meetings. Might there be a motion?
Motion to adopt the 2026 calendar of meetings.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, say no. All right, motion to adopt has taken place. Third item on the new business are the ZBA bylaws. And I apologize, Ms. Steck, remind me again, did we used to have bylaws and these are the new bylaws? Or we did not have bylaws and now we're just getting caught up with modern times?
The latter,
That's what I thought. Okay,
right?
I
So
don't feel
never
so
had
bad.
them, and it's darn fine practice to have them. And I had a really awesome memo that apparently I didn't click the right box in the new system. So you guys don't get the memo, sorry. But it essentially says that this is, bylaws, it is a best practice that we should be adding to our list, right? Like, we really do want to get to modern times. This is also something that was identified in the redevelopment ready communities scorecard that we had. You know, we are in the process, slow moving process that it may be, to become certified with the state under that RRC program. And so before you tonight are, I mean, these are some pretty standard bylaws. You are actually practicing these bylaws on a regular basis during our meetings. Really, some of the only things that we don't have currently that are in these bylaws is we don't have a secretary, right? We should have a secretary. You guys can, you know, vote amongst yourselves or will vote amongst yourselves to do so. But it really just spells out, you know, why is the ZBA formed? What are you tasked with doing? What do each of these officers, what's their role? How do the meetings run? And, you know, what are the rules that are gonna govern the actions of this board? So, like I said, they're pretty basic, pretty straightforward. And I suppose the only thing that we may wanna consider adding that is not in here is something about attendance. In my previous community, there was in the bylaws for all of our boards was an attendance, right? If you have 3 or more unexcused absences, then that is grounds for removal. Right now, that is handled under the policies and procedures established by councils. So, those policies and procedures spell out that removal from any sort of board is due to mal or misfeasance. But that's it. There's nothing about attendance in there. So that's really up to you. If you want to kind of chew on this, I mean, we can certainly push this to the next meeting, or if you're feeling comfortable with what's written, we can adapt and carry on with our wonderful self.
We can also a motion to adopt and revise later,
Yes.
amend,
Yeah.
add.
But
Hey,
I'm
hey,
happy
hey.
to answer any questions.
Have all members had a chance to review the bylaws? We're giving another month to do justice for 5 pages, or to Ms. Steck's point, the absence policy or rule or bylaw, I thought was in the village
The policy.
charter, and I'm using words I clearly don't know, but rules that govern how we work.
Policies and procedures.
Yeah, I thought that was in there because that's why we started excusing absences last year. So I didn't want to contradict something in our bylaws, because sometimes when you say things twice, maybe it says something different. But
Right.
what I'm hearing is it's not written anywhere.
Not about the number of absences, right?
Okay.
I know that we track absences, we track attendance, right? So, and there is, and I honestly, I couldn't tell you, I want to say it's, you have to be at meetings 60% of the time, maybe 70. So that does get factored in when terms are up, right? But it's not officially laid out, right, that you have, you have three or more unexcused absences, you're out. It may be different for the actual council. but not for the board.
Okay.
So, but,
So it sounds like we're empowered to do that on our own or be silent to it. So does this board feel strongly about putting something into our own bylaws about X number of meetings and you're out? Or do we want to leave silent and as written?
fairness, you guys are pretty good about attendance, so. I never worry about making a form for this board.
For what it's worth, and at the risk of being kicked by somebody from my very first attendance here, it's typically not in the bylaws, because the council will do whatever it's gonna do. Quick look at your charter, talks about the four as a potential reason for
For them.
considering
Okay.
it to be a vacancy.
Okay.
But even that's just up to the council. So I think you're covered if you wanna leave it out. Certainly up to you.
I really like having you here.
Me too. Me too.
Where were you during the chicken stuff?
The non-use variance.
Oh, nice. Oh, okay.
Don't,
I appreciate that clarity, exactly.
Question?
I have a question. Don't we have a different standard for voting on a use variance versus?
Use variances are it's a super majority.
Should that be included under the
Rules.
rules, where it says a quorum,
Yeah, we should have some.
6A says a quorum shall consist of a majority, and a majority of both those members.
I mean, it can be as simple as a super majority.
Everybody else wants to go home.
No,
good job.
Is required
I know, you get paid for that
for
somewhere.
granting
When I write my thesis, I'll give it to you for a read.
All right, so I believe a simple sentence at the end of A, saying a supermajority is required for granting a use variance. Be sufficient.
Of the whole board.
Majority of the
Right.
whole board, yes.
I thought for non-use variances, if we only had 5 members show up, that's quorum, right? That all 5, that there's a minimum number of votes, not a supermajority to approve a non-use variance, correct?
Non-use variances are simple majority.
Of those present or of the total board members? So if we only have 6 of, there's 9 of us, right?
Then 5
Yes.
wouldn't be a quorum, right? What establishes a quorum?
So a quorum is the majority of the entire board membership, so that would be 5, right?
So if we don't have 5 people here, we can't have a meeting.
No, if you, yeah,
Or
if
we
you
have less than 5,
if
yeah.
you have four or less people,
Right.
then there's no meeting.
Yep.
There has to be at least 5 of you,
That's quorum.
that's a quorum,
And all-
and then there would have to be at least, it'd have to be 3 to vote, to grant, yes, per this. So the quorum shall consist of a majority of the entire board membership, so 5. Provided a quorum is present, a majority of those members present shall be necessary to approve any motion, resolution, or recommendation, except as otherwise required. A supermajority, I guess, is it of the whole board? A supermajority is required for granting a use variance.
I recall a case probably 3 years ago where there was a snowstorm and there was, I wasn't here, I was just reading the notes, but I was led to believe that you needed 5 votes, regardless of the board, sitting the board. Because there was, in this particular meeting, it was with the neighbor, they, there's the term, when you adjourned to the next meeting, so they moved it to the next meeting because there were 7 And they didn't think that they couldn't get 5 out of the 7. So I want to make sure that that's abundantly clear.
The word you just said is what I was thinking.
What was that?
No, yeah,
Abundantly clear?
Oh, yeah, because there's cases where if there's a shortage of us, the petitioner might be in their best interest to table it to the next meeting when they can
Yeah.
get more votes, but as there's less of us, their odds of securing a majority are
Yeah.
harder.
This was about 3 months before my case came up. That gives you an idea. And it was my neighbors, the Fidelis, that were looking for a variance on their garage thing.
Yes, my God, Tim, I know I say that every single meeting, but I'm so glad you told me about control. All right, let me, I got at least 6 of
Is that how you call it? 5? I'm pretty sure there's something in that that says 5.
Yeah, I'm having this, I don't think it's majority of these present.
even more, I can do that up there.
I think it's a 5.
The concurring vote of a majority of the members of the zoning board of appeals is necessary to reverse any one of the parties.
I don't have the internet here.
A concurring vote of the majority of the members of the ZBA is necessary to reverse any one of the required decision or determination of the administrative official or body to decide in favor of the applicant on the matter upon which the ZBA is required to pass the zoning ordinance or to grant a variance of the zoning ordinance. So, a majority of the entire board then.
Correct.
Brandon, do you want me to scroll this
No, I
down a little bit
can
more?
see it.
You got that one? I mean, I can give you these though.
How about we just?
I was gonna say. All right.
No, that's fine.
Do we need to take a motion to table?
I think you just take no action and it just will
All right.
show up.
We're gonna take no action on item C, ZBA bylaws. And for those that want to throw their hat in the ring, perhaps next meeting, we could also nominate and approve a secretary for the board. I thought it was interesting that bylaws say that the chairperson can assign the responsibilities to the vice chair at any time, so if there's ever an uncomfortable situation where I want to deal with it, I think it's gonna. Okay. There is nobody here from the public, so I think it's safe to say we can move on from public comments, item 8. Our liaison, Mr. Drummond, is not present, so we do not have any liaison comments that I'm aware of. Administration comments.
Well, I already told you we've gotten those turned out invitations, so this is exciting. Beyond that, I mean, I'll bring the bylaws back for our next meeting, whatever that may be. The deadline was today for January, so we are not gonna see each other in January. We'll see each other in February.
Hopefully I'll be skiing anyway. I was
Surprised I'm not getting yelled at. I am looking into, the training as well. We did the 101, and now there's the advanced ZBA training. So I will be looking into that. The Michigan Association of Planning, we did it first before. They kind of go on like a end of the year hiatus, and they will pick those trainings back up in the early part of the year. So stay tuned. If there's a meeting where maybe we don't have action, that might, I'd like to use our time wisely and we can schedule something there. So, but stay tuned. Otherwise, I think that's it from me. So I hope you all have happy holidays, wonderful new year, and all that good fun stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it, do I understand it correctly, that training would be held here?
Yes.
Okay. I really appreciated that last time we did that. I think in the previous, there's been recommendations for us to go out somewhere.
Yep.
So I really do appreciate that you're bringing that in here where we can get to probably quicker, easier.
Absolutely, my pleasure. You want me to see if I can get our same presenter back? Did you like her? I mean, I like her, she's pretty cool, but, did you like her style?
Yeah, I thought it was a well-prepared training. And
Okay.
I don't have a lot of experience in
In
judging a
that-
ZBA training instructor, so
Right, okay.
I thought I learned when she spoke, so I
All right,
it was good.
perfect, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ms. Beck. Next on the agenda, zoning board member comments. Do any members of the board have any comments they would like to share?
Oh, Rex, that one.
Not that I want to. I've been contacted a couple of times by inquiring neighbors, and I feel like it's my duty to say something. I didn't actually make any comments but I've had one conversation, 2 emails expressing concern over the building, Rama,
Yes.
the mosque, where's the parking? Are we doing something about it? And I don't need to have an answer, I figured it's been brought to your attention.
I am well aware of what the issues are over there right now. We're working on it, right? I've had contact with, the property owner and their, property manager, right? A couple of different times, and we're working to set up a meeting and resolve our issues, or their issues, rather. I am really, there's a couple things that are been kind of happening with that, that, run the spectrum of, the zoning considerations of, changes of use and occupancy and the parking loads and whatnot. There have also been some, I've had communication and brought both the fire marshal and the building official in on these conversations so that we're really covering our bases. So, I know it may not look like a whole lot is happening or that maybe we're not doing something outwardly visible, but it's because we're not. We're working internally to make sure that we're all on the right track.
But from a board member, my response of my almost unofficial no comment is the way to posture these things.
Well, and I would say for anyone that is, experiencing that and having neighbors reach out or friends reach out, please have them contact me.
That's
Because, I'm glad to hear it from any of you, but it's actually better for me to hear from people directly, just to know what they are experiencing directly. It just helps.
Yeah, my response was to repeat,
Okay.
to direct them to you and to say that they always have the ability to publicly comment on any village meeting.
Absolutely. But feel free to give them my email or my phone number.
I did.
Good.
Thank you. Okay. Only closing comment I have is to wish everybody a safe and happy holiday and enjoy some time off with your family. It sounds like we won't see each other in January, potentially, maybe, unless something changes. So, looks like February 9th, potentially, so wish you all well. With that, looking for a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made, motion seconded. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Our meeting is officially adjourned.